Hello and welcome to the Teach Music 21C podcast series. I'm Merlin Thompson, the creator and founder of Teach Music 21C, a music teacher's professional development program where we're sowing the seeds that empower and equip our students as lifelong music makers. And I'm joined once again by Lorrie Merrell. She's a member of the executive team here at Teach Music 21C. Lorrie, thanks so much for joining today.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, Lorrie, I've just come back from the MTNA conference, the Suzuki conference, and the American String Teachers Conference. And the one thing that seems to come up always in teachers' discussions is how do we get students to practice? And it seems like this is something that really is impacting teachers. But for me, at the same time, important part of what we're doing. What's my worry? My worry is that people are expecting a one sentence answer, and it's something that's much more complex than a one sentence answer can take and get into action.
Yes, how do we get students to practice might be, the more I think of it, it might be the wrong question to ask. Question is, how do I inspire? How do I motivate? How do I teach a love for music? How do I want them to want this in their lives forever? And how do I do those things? Practicing is a little bit insignificant to all of that because their lives are so busy and you have no control over their
Mhm.
lives when they leave the studio. But if they've chosen a piece that they love and they've got a group class coming or they've got a concert coming up that they really want to participate in, that's where the practicing comes in.
For
And
sure.
even with my own 5 children, um, sometimes I would take him to a lesson and I wouldn't even want to go in because I would be so embarrassed because I knew they hadn't practiced all week.
Yeah.
But one lesson I did go in at the end because I realized I needed to pay the teacher. And the teacher looked at me and said, "Have you heard this?" And I would just put my head down. No, I just don't do this to me. I know he hasn't practiced. And then he says, "Play it for your mom." And I went, "Oh." And then he played this beautiful piece, and my mouth just dropped open. When did he do that? I don't know. How did he do it? I don't know. But the same thing happens with my students. There's just kind of this magical thing that goes on some of the times that you don't know when or how they do it, but it's certainly nothing I had control over. So I've relaxed on a lot on when are you going to practice and how much and all of this and ask different questions.
Yeah, you know, I'm totally in that area as well. I don't ask students how much they practice anymore. And part of it for me is, can I accept the fact that students won't be practicing 24 hours a day, every day of the week before they come back to the lesson? And that's the extreme on that kind of end. But can I accept also that students may come to listen and they won't have practiced at all? So yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, is that something that I can accept? And I like students to know. I like students to know this story. It's a story that comes from my own background. And it's the story of being a university student and having an exam at the end of a semester, having a whole bunch of pieces. I had to get ready for that exam. And the typical thing would happen at the beginning of the semester, my professor would only hear maybe one or two pieces. So I'd get into the habit after 3 or 4 weeks of only playing those one or two pieces, or working on them the most. And there were other things I would see, for a minute here and there. And then there would come the week when my professor would say, "Oh, Merlin, I should probably hear you play the Chopin and the Bach today." And I go, in my mind, "Oh, I haven't really practiced those pieces for I'm not sure how long." But of course, I wasn't going to embarrass myself and tell my prof that I hadn't practiced them. So launch into it, and things would go okay. On occasion, things might even go quite well. So I want my students to know that practicing helps you out for sure. But, the research is quite clear that practicing and not practicing are both tools that you should have in your toolkit as a way of moving through whatever learning process you're on.
Hmm. That's that's pretty powerful. Practicing and not practicing are powerful tools. because that's not a mindset that most of us have at all. So,
Yeah. And I did talk recently to a group of teachers about the factory assembly approach. And, the whole idea that learning to play the piano is like factory assembly. We're just going to go day after day after day, week after week. And we're always going to be built on perfectly completed steps. But factory assembly isn't what we are. We are organic beings. And organic beings, even if you just think about growth and rest as having parts of our, what would I say, our journey, growth and rest. Yeah, pretty important stuff.
yeah. I'm thinking about when I have another student who just made the, high school soccer team, and has he practiced? Absolutely not. The only time he touches the piano is when he comes here for the last few weeks. I think it's my job to not make him feel less than or humiliated or put down because he hasn't been at the piano. So what I say to him is, what did you get a chance to look at this? No. And I want him to be honest and not feel bad. And I'll say, that's okay. That I'm just so glad that you're here today. And I appreciate you coming to lessons, no matter how busy you are, because what it says is that you love music. So we'll just use the time now to do what you don't have to do, what you don't have time to do at home.
For sure.
And that for sure keeps them coming to piano, because they know they're not going to come and be berated because they haven't practiced.
Yeah, I like the opening statement, what do you need from me today? So as opposed to what have you done kind of thing. So everything's on them. No, what a lesson situation is a shared environment. So asking the question, what do you need from me today? And granted, that can catch a student off guard if you never ask that question. But if you've asked that kind of question for a number of years or even a number of weeks, students get the point. The lesson is about what can we accomplish together.
Yeah, exactly. Even with their busy lives, because that's just not going to happen in the practicing. You have to, and it's individual. Each student, maybe they do need some motivation or some encouragement with practicing, or to learn how to do it. It's just the art of the teacher, I guess, to discover what each student needs and when. And at the end of those lessons with my teenagers, they usually always say thank you, and I'll say, oh, you're so welcome, but thank you for coming. I really enjoyed that. I had so much fun working on that part with you. It was inspiring.
Yep. So what we're really talking about here is understanding our students, accepting the complexity of their lives, accepting that, and then developing, I would say, journeys for them that match what they can do. So, here in Canada, we've got this huge exam-based approach. Lots of students are doing exams. It takes a lot of time. On occasion, I've had to say to certain people, maybe an exam isn't the thing that you want the most, or we need to choose an exam that you can actually complete, given I would say the factors that you've got going on in your life. So there are those kinds of things as well, to make sure that the journey we're on is the one that's actually possible for students to do. And that comes down to what is the repertoire they're playing? Where does that repertoire come from? Is it meaningful for them? Is it not meaningful for them? Those are really important questions to be asking.
Yes. Yes. Things that they can handle and things that they like. And that's really important. It all goes into, where are they going to have music in 20 years of their life?
Right.
And I asked him that at this last group class, and 20 years from now to a teenager is just forever. And so I kind of brought it back. Well, what about as soon as you graduate high school? What about in college? What about, in your 20s? And we kind of built from there. Where is music going to be in your life? What can I do now to keep it in your life? Just like you were saying, very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, well, so it all comes back to what are we thinking about as teachers when we ask that question, how do I get students to practice? And right away, what comes into mind is that we've got this idea from somewhere in our past. It could be the previous generation of music teachers. It could be the experience that we had as students ourselves, where teachers always asked us, how much did you practice last week? How much did you practice last week? How many days did you practice last week? And so there's a kind of an expectation on our part that that's what we're supposed to continue.
Yeah. It's just even when you described that, it made me go, ooh, because I remember being asked that. And it's not a good feeling. It's a squirmy feeling. You don't feel good about it. You don't want to come back. It's embarrassing. I don't want to do that to my students.
Yep. So in order to do that, we have to be understanding. We have to be acceptant and acknowledge that we're caring for our students. That means helping them to set out journeys that are meaningful for them and meaningful for us too. We can have that intersection of things. So it's not just, so I'm not going to do anything as a teacher, and my students are just going to bring pieces they want to play, and I'm not going to say anything. That's not why people are coming to us for music lessons. They're coming to us for our insight and for our wisdom. And we most assuredly can find ways to inject that in what students are bringing for their music lessons.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
Lorrie, we should probably wrap this up. We've moved through a really important topic today. This whole notion of how do you get students to practice, and maybe that's not the question we should be asking. Maybe the question we should be asking is, how do we create processes that match where students are coming from, and that will automatically result in, or not automatically result in, that will take them towards this journey of lifelong music making, that will invest in their journey of lifelong music making.
Great topic.
Yeah.
And
So,
important.
yeah. So I'm Merlin Thompson. I've been here with Lorrie Merrell today. This is the Teach Music 21C podcast series. Lorrie, thanks so much for joining in.
Thank you so much. Always wonderful conversations with you. Thank you.
And thanks to everybody for joining in today. We'll hope to see you the next time. Bye for now.